Hello, I'm Kathy Ramsperger. I'm an author and an intuitive life coach and trainer. And I'm here with uh, the wonderful intuitive and healer, Jenny Hughes. And I'd like to welcome all the intuitives, creatives, and magical dreamers watching us today and later. Welcome to Story Time. It's a newer creation of mine. I created it in 2021, and you're more than welcome to be here and to ask plenty of questions and leave comments. Um, so, a little about Jenny. We've known each other almost a decade, and we met at Intuitive Coaching Training School taught by the Oracle, Colette Baron Reed. And at the time, Jenny was a mechanical engineer and she really wanted to make the transition to coaching and healing. After 10 years in a mechanical engineering career and a successful one, Jenny left corporate America to raise a family. And just like me, that's how I found my passion in personal development and healing. Jenny facilitates healing and transformation, which clears inner blocks to vitality and well being. She has successfully guided clients to find better health, improved relationships, more clarity, new jobs, and higher earnings. She's an active member of Toastmasters. We'll talk a bit about that today. Graceful Health Center for Extraordinary Living, and speaks regularly at meetings and seminars, as well as her healing and coaching. And in her spare time, Jenny lives in nature. I just love seeing where she lives. Works and plays with her children in the beautiful town of Auburn, California. She loves dance, music, yoga, and getting out in nature with hiking, skiing, and scuba diving. Uh, Jenny, welcome. It is so nice to have you here today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Kathy. I've been really looking forward to this. It's going to be fun.
It is going to be fun. We always have fun. Mm-hmm. So, first question, how does mechanical engineer like you end up being an intuitive healer and coach?
Yeah, back in the engineering days, I didn't even think that I had an intuition, or if I did, I was pretty sure it was broken. I was really living from, analysis and logic, and I didn't give much credence to. I didn't think I was creative. I didn't think I had an intuition. And I was lucky enough, though, to have the opportunity to stay home with my children. So when I had my son, we moved up to Dutch Flat, California, which is in the Sierra foothills, neat mountainous place to raise kids. And I was able to be home with my kids. And during that time, it was really a Dr. Phil show that got me into all of this, because I wasn't
Phil.
I wasn't even watching it anymore because it had gotten so like drama, but it was on my DVR. And one day I was just like, what can I watch? And I found this episode of Dr. Phil where Colette Baron Reed was one of the guests. He was doing this, alternative methods or
I remember that
show. And he had on a lady, he also had on a lady named Glennis McCants, who is a numerologist, and I believe a friend of Colette's. And I was fascinated. I had never heard of numerology, but I think it appealed to me because numbers, I'm an engineer. And it really opened this door of understanding for me about people. I started working with people's birthdays and their names, and it really helped me understand my family and friends, all the birthdays that I could get my hands on.
And thank you for the email on birthday. It helps me to know what year I'm in. It really does.
Yeah. So that's one little thing that I do for folks that I've done their charts. I have them in my calendar. When their birthday comes up, I send them a little note about what their what personal year they're in, which is an interesting thing with numerology. And it was through the numerology. I went to a workshop in Pasadena with Glennis, and Colette was the back of the room person. And she was doing what she called a little fast food read. So you'd go back and you'd pick a card, and then she would give you a little bit of information. And she happened to know some things about me that nobody knew. And that got my attention. And I heard her ask somebody, have you thought about becoming a coach? And it was like my little antennas were like, oh, I wonder if she's going to ask me that. And we call that a cleat on, as Kathy knows. And so I started following her radio show, and then I got into her school, and I discovered that I indeed do have an intuition, and it's pretty darn powerful.
We did the kind of the same path, because I started listening to a radio show, and I think she had me on to read me. I don't even remember that part. And she said, you'd make a good coach. You want to be a coach? Like, yes. And I think she was like, wait a minute. Like it was, but I'd been looking for somebody with the right balance of left analytical brain and right creative brain. And that is Colette. And that is also you, Jenny.
Yes. And she had her partner, what does she call it? Doug was like the left brain side of it.
Yeah.
And so.
Well, I'm so glad that you found Colette, and I'm glad that we found each other, and I'm glad that your clients find you. Your kids were key in this transition. But it must not have been an easy decision. And I'm speaking from personal experience, because you want to be there. And I think I met you right when your youngest started kindergarten. So it was a real transitional year for you. I wonder if it was a 5. And
that's about right. Yeah. Maybe it was a 5-year for me. Let's see.
And I'm not sure it was, but I know there was a lot of change. And then I really think by the next year, you knew exactly where you were going, with some tweaks, obviously.
Yeah. It's funny you bring up what personal year it was, because I just realized that was a 1 year for me. So in numerology, you go through these cycles of 9, and I'm in a 1 year right now. And man, first week of January, I really felt it. And I realized, oh, this whole journey started for me in that previous 1 year. And I've spent these 9 years studying and learning and working with people and figuring out how to articulate things and how to understand this whole world, in my view. And now there's this new energy, the energy of 1. So the 1 year has all of this ambition and action. It's really about action and movement, and so I'm really feeling it.
Well, you probably know I'm there too.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we have the same. Yeah, we're in the same one.
Yeah.
Yep.
So tell us a little bit about your approach to healing, how it evolved maybe, and coaching others to heal themselves. I know you do a really good job of that as well. You're a great teacher.
Yeah, it's been an interesting journey, because it's gone through several evolutions. So it started with discovering my intuition and learning Colette's envision process for working with people. And then I was drawn into learning about the mind-body connection, how the mind and the body are so important. I got into emotional freedom technique tapping, and I studied with Margaret Lynch, who teaches about uncovering the subconscious blocks that we have to success. And then about 3 or 4 years ago, it was just in I was looking for places to give workshops, and I was going to networking meetings, and I met this really interesting lady who is a chiropractor, and she was at the networking and talking about how her husband was giving these presentations. And I was like, oh, is that somewhere, a space where I could give presentations? And she said, well, maybe. And it was like they had me over for an interview. Now, I had my own chiropractor at the time, so I wasn't looking for a new chiropractor. But these folks at the Graceful Health Center for Extraordinary Living,
Awesome.
they are doing what chiropractic is really supposed to be. And this gets into kind of the difference between healing and curing. We are very culturalized to, when we have an issue, we go and we seek a practitioner that can provide a cure, either a medicine or a treatment, a therapy that will make that symptom go away. It's as if that symptom doesn't have any meaning. I just want it to go away so that I can get back to living life the way that I was living it before. Now, healing is different because it's honoring of the symptoms. It's honoring that our bodies have innate intelligence, have a healing ability, and a symptom is your body trying to tell you something. So that's where healing and curing are very different. And Andrew and Naomi, over the past 4 years or so, have taught me that. And they have taught me how they facilitate healing. So we don't even call ourselves healers because the healer is the intelligence within a person. We call it healing facilitation. Yeah, so now I'm doing hands-on healing facilitation. We make light contacts on the tissues surrounding the spine, and it's incredible.
So it is like chiropractic. I was going to say, is it more like chiropractic, or do you use kinesiology? Is it anything like Reiki healing or not?
Not to my understanding, because we're making the light contacts in order to help people reconnect with parts of them that have been shut off by the things that they have somaticized. So the common word for that is stuffing it. When we go through life, we have experiences, and if there's an experience that doesn't feel good, or we're cognitively not able to process it at the time, especially when we're kids, our body has this strategy of stuffing it, of somaticizing it in the body to hold it for later processing. Well, those build up over time. And so you end up with these tensions that are blocking not only the communication that helps your body heal, but also your inner clarity, your connection with your inner knowing and your intuition.
Because
so
your body's saying, knock, knock, I've stored this as long as I can. And
right.
you just keep cutting it off. And then you cut off the flow. Well, I would call it chakras, the flow between the chakras. But really, it's that vagus nerve and all that. They just go offline, don't they?
Right. And, you'll hear people talk about stress, the things that stress us and put us in stress response, but you don't hear too often about how the tensions that are being held in the body over time are also causing stress response to fire. And it's a little bit of a vicious cycle, and that's why I've become so passionate about finding these tools that help us break that cycle.
Fantastic. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I'll send you an email, but I am working with an MD right now who has dealt with ACEs, childhood traumas, and how they impact that child's whole life. And we're working on a project together, and this falls right into it. So I assume your clients leave having healed at least some of their trauma along the way.
It's very interesting. I'm not licensed to give any diagnosis of anything. I'm not licensed to treat anything. But what we find, they've got like 20 years of research on this, and it's very common for symptoms to dissipate or disappear. We just don't know, though, the timeline. Like, it's not that predictable because every person has a unique way that their body is reorganizing in response to the sessions.
Fascinating. Thank you. Um,
Yeah.
so I'm going to switch a little bit from the left brain to the outdoors and animals, which we both love dearly. And I remember your love of
Yeah.
horses and riding. I wonder if you're still able
Mm.
to do that, or are your kids able to do that? Um, and how are horses in particular a great teacher for you?
Yes, I rode horses as a teenager. I showed hunter jumpers. And, you know, it's interesting that you asked that because I think they did help me get in touch with my intuition because it's very physical
And they're quite
when you're riding
intuitive.
a horse and you're communicating with them with your body. They're also really a magical creature. I love the folks that are using horses in their practice. And in fact, we had a colleague that was combining Colette's technique
And
with
I need to
horses
be,
because,
I was in touch with her about a year ago. I need to be
yeah,
in touch again.
yeah, because horses have this way of really reading people and reflecting back to them
Mm-hmm.
what's really going on, even if they're in denial about some way that they're being. Um, yes, I would love to have more. I have interactions with horses here and there. I wish I had more.
Well, me
Yeah,
too. And it's hard right
yeah,
now. I'm not certain even people. There's somebody
yeah.
I know that has a horse and wasn't able to ride it. It's because of the weather.
Huh,
Yeah, it's been a year of not being able
huh.
to be with our animals if they're outdoor animals. So I'm excited for
Hmm.
that to open back up again because all I do is just trot around and hike with it. But they are healers in my opinion. Um,
Yes, they are.
so I know when I met you, you did some dance and you did
Mhm.
a lot of yoga. And
Yes.
how does that integrate with your practice now, if at all? Or is that just something that's a personal, enjoyable thing for you?
My yoga practice is mostly personal. I don't teach yoga or anything, but I think it's a really complementary practice. And Andrew and Naomi have commented on that because movement and anything that's going to help us connect with our bodies a little bit better. So if that's something that you enjoy, then definitely have a yoga practice because it does really make you pay attention to your breath. And
Right.
breath is the midwife of transformation. So, in fact, I think breath is probably the most important aspect of yoga.
Yeah, me
Um,
too. I think breath is the most important aspect of just about anything because I think we forget to
yes,
breathe a lot of times. Um,
right,
yeah.
right.
Um, and you
And
can't
and
be stressed
movement is
when
so
you breathe.
important. One thing that I learned in the healing facilitation is that we have many thousands of receptors in our body that's sensing the outside world, but like 90% of those are movement receptors. So that's just a little clue of how important it is to move your body, how important exercise is. And I always tell people, you've got to find what you like. Like, I don't make a recommendation for someone, oh, you need to do this class and this yoga, because each person has to find what resonates for them. I think it can actually be unhelpful if you're forcing yourself to, if you're like,
Yeah.
oh, I've got to exercise, I'm going to do this gym membership and I'm going to do 45 minutes on the treadmill. And I think that works against you.
I think
You've
it
got to find something you enjoy.
I think it works against the practitioner if they're demanding that you do a certain thing that you really don't want to do. A little
Yeah,
resistance is part of any kind of healing journey. But
sure.
somebody said I had to run a marathon, there'd be a lot of resistance because it's just not my thing, first of all. And second of
Right,
all, I have a bad knee,
right.
so I'd probably ruin my knee, but it's really funny that you're saying this right now because I was talking to a practitioner yesterday that I don't know well, and she was saying, "Oh yes, I have this tip for these people, and I tell them to put a bucket on their head, and I don't, there was a bunch of stuff about filling the bucket with energy, and you had to do it every 15 minutes and set your alarm." And I was like, that would just stress me out, right? To have
Right,
to remind
right.
myself every 15 minutes, oh, right, empty my bucket. Um, so, and I would probably work for many people, but I think it's so individualized. And so
Right.
I think it's wonderful that you're teaching them to fish themselves. So what, when they come
Right.
to you, are they coming to you with a physical pain, or why do they show up? And I'd love if you shared that little quote you gave me before the show started about healing and what it is.
Yeah. Um, Really, it's all different reasons. Now some people find me because I have my coaching website, Lighter Life Coaching, and I also have Jenny Hughes Healing for the healing facilitation.
Right.
And the coaching I can do long distance, I can do it over the phone, so that's nice. And the healing facilitation is in person. I have a home studio, and of course, right after I got started, we were hit with this whole COVID thing, and I ended up
Probably a
leaning
reason
back into
for that.
coaching.
Yeah.
But it also gave me the opportunity to figure out, well, how can I teach some of these healing facilitation skills over the Zoom? And so I've created a class that I run every third Thursday of the month, just to teach people how to facilitate this healing with themselves.
Cool.
Yeah. So yeah, some people come wanting coaching. Some people, it is about physical issues. In my practice, it's probably about sleep the most,
Mm.
disrupted sleep.
I'll bet
And
there's a lot of that
wow, they
going
they
around
really
right
get great
now.
results.
I'm sure they do. That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
So I would like to break for questions and comments if we have any, Kaylee. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. So we have one question right now from Noelle Puglisi, and she's asking, what is the biggest challenge you have faced trying to help someone?
Oh, that's a great question.
Noel asks great questions.
What comes to mind in my healing facilitation practice is, it ties back to what Kathy talked about, resistance. We are not used to getting our hands on our bodies and really looking at what's in there. And it could be scary to people. So I've had people who come in a few times and then disappear. So that's very challenging because it feels like, oh gosh, I'm doing something wrong. Um,
Maybe
and
there could
I
be
think we can't force it. People are on their own journey, and they're looking for what's going to help them. And hopefully for those folks, I help them in some small way that contributes to their journey.
That's
Yeah.
all that we can do. Yeah, resistance is a big thing, and especially if the the person doesn't know that. I don't. I think we all know a little bit about our stubbornness. I certainly know about mine, but I think that there are times that there is resistance, and I actually have to have an external sign or factor show me that I'm being resistant. less as I've become
Right.
older, but when I was young, it would have to come externally, and now I'm able to feel it in my body. Really, is where I feel it. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. Um, and I would assume that as your modality breaks up the resistance, it can become pretty frightening if you've never experienced that before.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Brings up the fear and um, yeah. So
and they'll be back when they're over it, right?
right. When they're ready.
Yeah.
And you know, and it's a message to me too, like, oh, maybe I was moving them in care too quickly.
Mm, that's interesting. Yeah.
And yeah, and the other thought that came up in terms of challenges is um, just being able to sit with people in their pain, with whatever is going on or whatever has happened, and letting go of the feeling like, oh, I have to fix this, you know,
Be.
because the most important thing really is the space that you're holding a safe space for somebody to explore their own stuff. That's probably the most important thing that I do, both in coaching and healing facilitation. Yeah.
I agree. I agree. Um, so I have a question in terms of, I was in a writing presentation last night, and it was for Kristen Hanna, and thank you, Tatiana, if you're listening in, for reminding me of it. I got there a little bit late, but I arrived there, and they said, "What's your one writing tip?" I wouldn't know how to answer that question right now, but I'm wondering what is one thing people could do right now if they're feeling tense or in overwhelm about about what's going on in the world, or just in general in their daily lives. Is there something that you do? Do you have one practice every day that helps a lot? Or, and I know that that's way too general, and that you're into unique kind,
Yeah.
individuals. But because there's so many people going to be listening, I'd love to hear how.
Yeah, you know what comes to mind, and this is so timely. Right now, the Tapping Summit is happening.
It is.
You can register for free. They have it started on, I think on Monday, so a few days in. But yeah, you can register for free, and they've got a set of presentations up for 24 hours each. And I attend every year. I get something out of it every year. And tapping is such an easy tool to learn and apply, and to really lower the stress response quickly and easily. So, yeah.
And sometimes it just disappears. You're in this weird thought. The loop is what I call it. And then you chat for a while,
Yeah.
5 minutes, and then you think, why was I thinking that? It's a
Yeah.
little magical. It doesn't always work for me, but when it does, it's like magic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Great
Yeah.
tip.
And even if people are watching this later after the Tapping Summit's over, it happens every year, but they have a phone app that I refer to, not every day, but they've got some great free.
Too. I have their membership. Because I love their interviews. I love their, some of it I don't resonate with their every single tapping program, but there's some that what they're doing today, everybody, is, I haven't listened to it yet, but it sounds absolutely transformational. And maybe while Jenny talks, I'll even look up and see
I think Dawson Church is on today, and he's one of the major researchers. So he has, not only is he just wonderful to listen to, he's just got this way about him that's so amazing. But he is very well researched in brain science, and he has been the creator of a lot of experiments and research to show how effective tapping is. And so his interviews are always one of my favorites, and I think that's up until 5 Pacific today.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Yeah, I'm not sure who else is on, but yeah, if you upgrade, and it's not very much, you can upgrade and then have access to all the interviews whenever you want.
Right.
And I've done that in a few of the years.
Oh, any more questions, Kaylee, while we've got you, or?
Yes, actually we have a few more questions, and one is from Tatiana Ramzoff, and she's asking, can you share your most inspiring quote?
That would be from Pema Chodron, and she says, "You are the sky, everything else is the weather."
I love that one so much, because I had a friend who's passed who used to say, remember what's behind the clouds at all times.
Yeah.
Yeah, that gives me chills.
Yeah.
Haley?
And we have another one from Noelle Puglisi, and she's asking, is there any area that you won't focus on?
I'm curious about Noelle, if she's asking from the standpoint, is she a practitioner? I was thinking about this on her last question.
She's not. She's just a curious person. I know Noelle personally.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool.
Really?
Tell me the question again.
Yeah, of course. She asks, is there any area that you won't focus on?
Any area that I won't focus on? Well, I think if somebody is dealing with a really severe trauma, I feel responsible to refer them to a licensed professional. I'm mostly working with people that are interested in personal development, or they're having some discomfort in their body. So yeah, there's definitely times when, it'll be a judgment call to refer somebody out for something either physical or mental. Yeah, it's a good question.
It is a good question. And it's one of the first things you're taught is to vet your client for any severe physical problem and any emotional illness. Sometimes they can hide it really well. I've had two that I didn't know for a couple of months, but then you just give them referrals. Yeah.
Yes.
You're a really dynamic speaker. I don't even know whether you know how dynamic a speaker in your presence, but you are, and your blogs have such a fresh voice. I love the stories you give us on your blog, and I love the nature photographs. How would you recommend someone who's a little introverted or camera shy, or just downright socially anxious, to get started to share themselves? Not necessarily online, but I am an introvert, and so I have my own little ways of making myself. I'm friendly too. I'm sort of borderline between the two.
Right.
I just know so many people that hide their light under a bushel, and that's who I'd like you to speak to.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I feel the same way as you, Kathy. I feel like mostly an introvert. I do a lot of thinking, and it takes some effort for me to put myself out there. And Toastmasters really helped me with that, because you find a club that you like, and they're all over the place. It's an international organization. And even in my area, there are a lot of clubs near me. You find one that just feels right, because they all kind of have a different vibe. And they provide a really safe environment for you to start speaking and to receive feedback that's really gentle and constructive. So it's a very structured meeting. They have an agenda that gets followed. People play different roles. You can even just sit in the meetings and watch for a while. In fact, I've heard of a lot of members who have been in Toastmasters for a long time who you wouldn't think that they were introverted, but they talk about when they first showed up at a meeting and they said, I didn't say a word for like a year. So yeah, I think, yeah, you just have to expose yourself, and it's a place where you can do that safely and kind of work through what you're trying to articulate.
Thank you.
And then tapping. Tapping helps a lot
Tapping
because, you know, on a subconscious level, you know, there's that part of you that's like, no way are you doing this. That is way too scary and dangerous. So those programs have to be addressed.
So finally, when we met, you were on the path to finding what I think is true, at least that was your mission at the time, true unconditional love. And what did you learn along that journey that you'd like to share with us? Because I've loved watching it first very close, your journey, and then from afar. And I know it wasn't just a journey of finding, do you call him your sweetheart? Is that what you call him?
Yeah, my sweetheart.
But finding your own heart. And I'd love to hear a little bit about that too. I know we all, it's the month of
Kathy, I love how you put that because yes, but in the beginning, I don't think that's what I would have said I was seeking. I think I'm just a curious person. And when I stumbled on this numerology, I was like, whoa, how could it just be numbers telling me about people's personalities? That's crazy. So it just, you know, it just ignited this curiosity in me. And at the time that I started in Colette's program and met you, I was really kind of hitting a wall of, gosh, I did everything I thought I was supposed to do. You know, I went to school, I got decent grades, I went to college, I got my degree, I did a career, I did my best to pick a person that I wanted to start a family with. And here I am, and I am miserable. What happened? Like I did everything I was supposed to do, and I'm miserable. What happened? And so probably the biggest thing I learned is that you have to figure out, you have to figure out what your journey is, like what ignites your passion, and not just be doing what other people think you're supposed to be doing. You know, I still have people who think, hey, you should be going and getting a real job, Jenny.
I'm 62 years old and they're still telling me that.
So in the beginning, it was really curiosity, but in the end, yeah, it is about love. It's about learning how to love ourselves, and finding that mission, that purpose, because it's one of those needs that humans have to progress and to contribute. Yeah.
And then the rest all falls into place, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, that was the other quote that I thought of when she asked about the quote was Tony Robbins' quote of, the key to happiness is progress. That was a big thing that I learned. So there isn't really an end point. It's all about the journey, you know.
The layers. And people don't realize that life isn't like this. Life is like this.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, I know. Oh, the spiral too. Revisiting, but you're revisiting things from a different vantage point. Yeah.
Thank God.
Right. At least it's from a different vantage point.
Well, and it's usually a higher vibrational vantage point too. We've learned at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're not going to maybe we are going to make the same mistake, but it'll at least be for a different reason and we'll have a different lesson.
Yep.
And
So true.
and that's what I write about too, is finding that inner peace and passion, finding the heart, the home of the heart.
Yeah.
And so I love your explanation of it. And I never heard that Tony Robbins quote, so I'm going to love that one.
Yeah.
So we're going to wrap up soon, but I want to see if there are any final questions or comments.
Yes, we have one more question from Tatiana Ramzoff, and she's asking, if you could give one piece of advice to someone who's starting to figure out their passion, what would it be?
Every little thing takes time. What's that song? It's a lyric from a song that I really love. I think it's from the song "It Is Written" by Medicine. What is it? Nako and Medicine for the People. I have not been very patient on this journey. I've always thought, I think I've spent a lot of time in stress that I didn't need to be in just because I thought I was supposed to be further along. So I think knowing that right where you are is important and beautiful and perfect, and just breathing into right where you are.
Yeah,
and
that's
stay curious, like the childlike curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
If you can maintain that vibration of curiosity and then appreciation for the lessons and what you've learned, those are powerful.
Yeah.
Curiosity and appreciation and patience.
Yeah, definitely patience. I just graduated college in May and I'm starting to figure out my next plan. So that's nice to hear. So
yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, you're
I am
welcome.
so glad that she's visited me along her way to her passion. Great things.
Like Kathy met me on my path, so it worked out perfectly.
It did.
Awesome.
So anything you want to add that I may have glossed over? Anything you want people to know about you and your work? And what are you up to as soon as we're able to get out and about? And where can people find you?
Yes. Well, people can find me at Jenny Hughes Healing. So that's a .com. It's also my Facebook page and my email, jenny@jennyhugheshealing.com. I list my events on Eventbrite, just a space where I can put, what I'm up to, and people can RSVP.
And how would someone who wanted to work with you get in touch with you?
Yeah, either by email or by calling me. Either text or phone. You can set up a clarity session with me. Yeah. The phone is 530-389-4141. And I feel like I want to make an important point about our connecting with our bodies, because we tend to be so in our heads and we're trying to figure everything out, and it really disconnects us from our bodies and our body wisdom. That brain likes to take over. So getting your hands on your body, paying attention to what your body's telling you. Yeah. That's what's led me on this journey.
What if somebody's sitting here saying, okay, what's my body telling me? Give us an example.
Yeah.
I can give you an example of me. when I started working way too much at my desk, my back got really
Yeah.
he wasn't happy. And I thought, oh,
Yeah.
I just need a new chair, but I tried 3 different
Mm.
chairs. I finally have a really wonderful one I got for the holidays. But it
Yeah.
was my body saying, you're sitting too much, you have to get out
Yes.
and walk. And as soon as I started
Right.
to do that, um, the pain is gone.
Yeah, that's a fantastic example. You know, I think we're really trained to ignore our bodies and just to power through things because we've got this priority. Oh, I've got to do. There's this belief that we can't rest until we've got it all done. But the truth is, we aren't going to get it all done.
No,
So, yeah, that's an excellent example, Kathy. Is, yeah, listening to your body when it tells you get up and move around, because like we talked about earlier, movement is super important.
and
And it doesn't matter what movement it is.
right,
Just,
right,
the
it's
body
true.
needs movement.
Because you're saying that for me because I was like, I'm not going to run a marathon. But
Doesn't have to be a marathon.
no, it's what we enjoy. And I think
Yep.
this year we've been lacking in joy. And any way we can bring it in is
I know. It's been so contracted and we've been like, oh my gosh, I can't go out. I have to wear a mask. It's all very contracted. So any way that you can open up and, you know, look at the sky and feel that there is well-being available to you. Yeah.
and have fun.
Yep.
I know how to have fun. I know that's for sure
Yes.
because I've had
Yep.
fun with her. And I'm going to share my tea bag wisdom. I always say coffee bag. Tea bag wisdom with you, Jenny, and it is so perfect.
Oh.
I've been waiting to do this. I know that
Oh, is it a synchronicity? I love synchronicities.
it is a synchronicity. I'm going to read it to you.
Oh yeah, read it.
Nobody can, but I'm showing it because otherwise people would think I'm just making it up. These are real tea bags from Yogi. Yogi wisdom. Thank you, Yogi. And I want to tell a little bit about this. I thought I want to get my lavender tea out for Jenny because she's so chill. You really are. And you're a healer. And I was all out. So I thought, okay, I have to get my throat comfort. That is not going to work. And listen, everlasting impact with compassion and kindness is called love.
Wow. Wow. Read it again.
I'm going to show it again because it's such a good one.
Everlasting impact.
Everlasting impact with compassion and kindness is called love. So there's a new quote. I think it might be my new favorite. I just
great.
think that one's perfect. So I am going to close. Thank you so much, Jenny Hughes, for your energy, for your heart, for being you and bringing your smile to us today. I know there'll be lots of viewers later as well. And please tell other people about the show. They probably will have to like the page, that's what I'm told, in order to be able to view. But they will be able to watch this is a bit of a one-off. It's usually every second Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern. I'll let you know if I change the time. Our guest next month will be author and intuitive Ruthie Landis. Join us and tell your friends. You can find more about me at shoresofourSouls.com or ground1onecoaching.com. And you can read my blog there, book a session, just get to know me better. And tell your website one final time, Jenny.
JennyHughesHealing.com.
And that's where you can do all that with Jenny. Thank you, Kaylee, for guiding us through Facebook today. Thank you, everyone, for
Yes.
listening. This is Kathy Ramsperger bidding you a healthy year and a peaceful weekend. And I always say, with a great book to read. Thanks a bunch. Bye, everybody. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I've got mine.
You got yours?
Da, 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 da. Love you, Jenny Hughes. Thanks a million. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.